Ladies and gentlemen, the next session of the day is entitled The Future of Smart Cities, the Next Stage of Urban Evolution. Please join me in welcoming the moderator of the session, Mr. Axel Threlfall, the editor-at-large for Reuters, along with the speakers. Ladies and gentlemen, they are Dr. Daeyeon, the Executive Director of the Board of Smart Cities for the Korea Agency for Infrastructure Technology Advancement, Mr. Osman Sultan, the Chief Executive Officer at DO, Mr. Norman L. Gilsdorf, the President for High Growth Regions at Honeywell, and last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, Yousef Ahmed, Baselaib, Executive Director for Sustainable Real Estate at Masdar. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome them all.
All right, good morning, everybody. We're going to get stuck straight in. We've a little bit truncated this session, so I want to jump into some of these big issues as quickly as possible. Welcome, everybody. Let me start with something a little bit counterintuitive. And this is based on comments that I read made here in Dubai earlier this month by the EU's Smart Cities Advisor. He said the best smart city of the future will not be those with the best technology, but those which work with citizens to create spaces that enhance happiness. City planners should not get caught up in the technology. Is that fair? Norm, let me start with you.
Yep, okay. So your question is the integration of the open space for people with technology.
Right.
Well, I guess my view is you need both. I think to drive happiness, you need to be able to have places where you can have physical activity, exercise, beauty, and whatever. But technology can enable other parts of your life so that you have more free time, you're more efficient, life goes easier. So I think it's a little bit of both.
Okay. Osman Sultan, let me ask you, as the CEO of a telecommunications company, is this a hard fact to have to deal with, that perhaps we're losing sight of what's really important and focusing too much on technology?
With your permission, I want to speak not only as the CEO of a telecom company, but as well as the CEO of a company who had the privilege of being the strategic partner for the Smart Dubai project.
Yep.
That's as well an angle. From that point of view, I totally agree that it should not be technology that is driving. It should be the vision of what we want to do. And as you said, it is indeed quite easy that we forget the sense of that and we plug technology for the sake of technology. But the remarkable thing here, because if we look on a bigger picture, all this technology that is happening, AI, robotics, smart things around us everywhere, which is a real shift in the way our kids and ourselves, we live everything we touch in our lives. There is the conversation between that and the human and the social that is maybe not highlighted enough. And here, actually, what I find remarkable, and we studied smart cities models all over the world, the remarkable thing is that we are reminded by the leader that, you know, if we are asking why are we doing all this, one simple word, happiness.
Yep.
So that link is in itself, in my opinion, the most remarkable drive of the construction of any technology or anything smart we want to produce.
Yousef Ahmed, how central is that word, happiness, to your role at Mazda?
Okay, in Masdar we are focusing now to build a city that it's more convenient, livable destination, so where people can live, work, and enjoy their free time after working hours. So walkability, sustainability, efficiency. So we are gathering all this aspect in Masdar, and we face a lot of challenge at the beginning. But after 10 years, I mean, we are moving ahead with our vision, and we're going to start to accommodate a few tenants by end of this year, and this journey will start. So we're going to test it after in 2018, and we'll see how it will be working.
Dr. Cho, let me ask you, with that in mind, let me ask you the question in a slightly different way. What is most important when we look at the building blocks of smart cities? Is it intelligent, strategic, thought-leading government thinking? Is it the right technology? Is it the appropriate entrepreneurial mindset? What comes first?
Based on the Korean smart city projects, we experimented several ways: small town, greenfield, or is a brownfield. So the most important challenge is about related to the brownfield, I think. So what we should do is to know about what's going on in the city, what's the problem in the city. So one technology or several technology can solve this kind of complex system. So we combine the technology, but we focused on the data, city data, urban data.
Focus on the data.
Yeah, focus on the data. Data is very important. Data is fuel for smart city. Yeah.
And Norm, let me bring you back in here, because you and I had a conversation just beforehand. You equating this data piece with the commodity oil. It needs to be refined. We need to use this carefully. We need to bring the right people in to help refine that data. Go ahead.
Yes, yeah, I like to equate data as the new oil. And why do you say that? Well, one, data is very valuable. Data needs to be stored. Data needs to be transferred and shared. But most importantly, we need to refine data, as you said. And so it's taking the data that's available that we can now get from devices everywhere through the connectivity, and it's having smart people bring intelligent thinking, and that, I think, is going to drive huge value in the future, whether it be for a building, for a transport system, for an industry.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's absolutely at the center of all this is data. And we just are looking at data flowing from everywhere, all these sensors, everything you touch become, transmitting some kind of data. I like to see that, as you said rightly, store it, segregate it, classify it, it becomes information. Then put some real science, put some data analytics, some predictive, it becomes knowledge, because it transforms into knowledge. And hopefully, a dimension that we haven't touched, knowledge will serve the right wisdom in transforming the city. We mentioned, you very rightly said, that one of the major stakeholders are the citizens, the people living in the city, in what they can do differently, doing things in a more efficient, safer, funnier, more healthier, more cost-effective, etc., etc. But the other main stakeholder is the city itself, because when all this data, and it will allow to have the insight of how is this evolving. When we plan for, 10, 15, 50 years ahead, you need to see some of these movement and transformation.
Yep.
So if there is tomorrow a community that is going to be living there, you need from now to start building the roads, the bridges, yes, the power, etc.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about that. Yousef, Ahmed, let's talk about the building blocks. We mentioned the data, the technology, the communications, the buildings, the transport infrastructure. What comes first for you? How do we build a smart city?
In Masdar, we are talking about all together. So it should be livable area and convenient for people to live. So technology is yes. Energy efficiency is in the top priority in us. The convenient, where we are focusing a lot now and doing a lot of R&D to build a community where it's convenient to live. And the convenient to live is it has a lot of subcategories, where is the noise level in the house, the humidity, the cooling, the CO2 inside the house. So it's a lot of things collectively, and that's what we are doing. And if you go back to the data you are talking about, data is the most important thing in any work we are doing, because without the data we cannot judge our targets. So we set targets. from collecting those data and analyze the data so we can set the next step where we want to be. So data is very important in all aspects. Transportation also is a very important thing. Today we are living in a very dense cities. Traffic is it takes a lot of time for people to transfer from A to B. So that's why transportation need to be more convenient to travel and green.
Who do you, Dr. Shope, who do you hold up as best in class right now? Slightly leading question.
Back to the Yousef mentions, we can divide the process of for smart cities. First thing is we're thinking about the how can make the infrastructure more efficiently, more conveniently. So thinking about the traffic conditions, we wanted to mitigate traffic congestion. So we're thinking about what's going on the road, what's going on the rail, and public transportation. But nowadays, we just think each infrastructure independently. But nowadays, for the future of smart cities, we integrate each sectors. So we call it horizontal integration. Thinking about this kind of structure, we can meet some systems of cities. So after then, we gather some data, we make some platforms. After then, we solve some services, and we can make some business platforms also.
All right, look, I am being given time cues, so we're going to have to keep this very broad this last few minutes. Let's talk very quickly about new cities versus retrofitting. Honeywell has said before that the smartest buildings, old buildings leveraging new technology, not necessarily new buildings. Talk to us a little bit about that, Norm.
Yes, we did a survey across the region a year and a half ago, over 900 buildings, and we looked at new and old and anything from hospitals to schools to offices to airports, and we found there was no correlation between new versus old. It really is in the mindset and the vision of the building owner. And if he sets, the owner and the operator, I should say, if they've set the vision, the KPIs, and the direction, we actually found quite a few old buildings in Dubai that performed at the top of the score. And by the way, the score we looked at is green, safe, and productive. And so I think it's really around the vision, the mindset, the leadership, the owner of a building, and what he wants to set out to do.
Osman Sultan, where will we be 10, 15 years from now? What excites you most in terms of where we're going with this, in terms of the technology?
Well, I think we will be in a totally different place. And what should excite us all is that we have an opportunity to really do better in terms of making people live differently and happier. There are some condition precedent. There is a need for the right conversations, as I said, between all these ecosystems and then the part that is related, because people think, okay, all this is becoming smarter, data is flowing. What will happen with my privacy? What will happen with the security of it? What will happen with the security of transactions that I will be doing that will be flowing everywhere? An important component when we speak even about data is the governance. Who can access what? Why are we using? What kind of the privacy thing? All these are themes that are existing, and these conversations are fundamental. And I believe that these are extremely exciting because we have the opportunity to start new conversations and to do good.
All right. Yousef, Ahmed, 10, 15 years from now, how different will Masdar look? And include in that, could you as well, this security piece that's just been raised? Because clearly that is a big issue. The cybersecurity piece.
What do you mean by security?
Cybersecurity.
Okay.
Privacy.
As you know, Masdar is part of a community where telecommunication companies providing us with all the data, and we're trying our best in regard to the cybersecurity and the attacks, which it's become a trend now in the world. By be off-grid for now, Masdar is an off-grid, so we are doing all our intelligence internally with our own servers and equipment. But later on, we do have some data center being built in Masdar now. It's Al Khazna data center. So we are doing some upgrade with them in the data center where we can host all our data and technology there.
Dr. Yousef, let me come to you and ask you what you think some of the biggest mistakes have been by some cities in their quest to create a smart city. What have you learned, whether it's through your own experience or the experience of others?
I emphasize 2 points. One is it is difficult for smart cities, early smart cities players to follow catch up the technical change, abrupt technical change. So in the case of Korean cities, they focused on just high broadband internet networking. They don't know about the smartphone, mobile technology because those times is around 24, 25 times. So the gap of technologies one issue, and another issue is I think public engagement is very important. European countries, smart cities show some living lifestyles.
Yes.
But in Asian and African and other developing countries don't think about the democratic way until now. So
All right.
that is important.
All right, gentlemen, it's been short but sweet. Thank you very much indeed for your thoughts.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.